Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Edges in 30K Media. Today I have a 2018 Honda Civic Hatchback EXL review for you guys. And this is my own personal car, but I'm going to try to not be too biased and give you guys really good feedback on what I think the car is and how well it drives, like the pros and cons of owning this car. I've had it for about 2 years, a little over 2 years now. I bought it brand new. This is my own, my first brand new car ever that I bought. So I'm just going to give you guys some feedback based on that. But right off the bat, just some quick impressions for you guys. I was looking for a car that, I wanted to drive without any problems and something that could get, good gas mileage and something that could get me from A to B. I drive about 20 miles a day to work, back and forth, and then occasionally I drive, up north to visit family, and it's about a 6-hour drive. So I wanted something that was also comfortable and reliable. And we know that, like Hondas they make fairly reliable cars. Most of the Civics out there, even the older generations, have been pretty reliable for me. But I kind of also didn't want to have, pay a lot of money to do maintenance on older cars, because that's a pattern. I've always bought older cars and just kind of ended up like doing the timing belt, the water pump, new tires, new belts, new fuel pumps, like et cetera, et cetera. So all that cost adds up, right? So you got to factor in a bunch of different things when you're going to buy a new car. But anyway, this review is about the car. And this is a hatchback model, right? So there's a bunch of trims. There's the sport trim, and we're talking about the 10th generation Civic. There's a sport trim, there's an EX trim, there's an EXL trim, and there's a sport, I believe it's sport touring. That's like the highest model. It's like the more sporty one with the exhaust note and a little bit more different suspension setup. But this is the EXL, which is the L stands for the luxury model. Since it was my daily driver, I wanted something that was going to be more comfortable. So the luxury model, it has leather seats, heated seats. Suspension is a little bit softer, and the gas mileage is about slightly better by like 1 or 2 miles a gallon. And speaking about gas mileage, it gets about 41 miles on the highway. I've gotten actually up to like 44, I think. I'm going to see how high I can go, but I think that's like the cap. 44-ish around there. But between mixed driving, between city and freeway, I get about 33 or 34, which is not bad. 35 is I've seen it around there too with mixed driving. So those of you guys that live out further away in like maybe the East Coast or something, where you guys drive on more open roads where you don't stop and go as much as here in Los Angeles, then you probably get a lot better gas mileage than I do. But one of the first things that I noticed when I got into this car, when I test drove it at the dealership, was that it's fairly solid. It's solidly built. When you open the door and close it, the thud, like it makes you feel like it's not a cheap car or cheaply made, This car isn't actually manufactured in Japan. So with that being said, some of the pros I think of this car are that quality control wasn't that good, I think, from the factory. So for example, like I'll go over this later on and give you guys some footage, but the front bumper, I think part of it is actually like sticking out a little bit, like maybe just like 1 or 2 centimeters. I think over time, maybe one of the clips back there broke or something. I did buy the part to fix that. I haven't had time to take the bumper apart yet, but other than that, I think some of like the plastic stuff inside the interior feel like kind of cheaply made, but it's not like really cheap or really noticeable. But like me being kind of like anal and like kind of like a car person, like I notice little things like that here and there. But it's a 1.5, talking about the engine, it's a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and it's a single scroll turbo. And what that means is that I guess it's a lot of people might argue that having a turbo car isn't as reliable as NA cars or non-aspirated engines, meaning there's no it's not sucking air, there's no turbine that's spinning. So over time, people might say that is more unreliable than a naturally aspirated car. So I mean, I can only take care of the car as best as I can, and with the newer technology, I trust that Honda knows what they're doing, and I haven't had any problems with this car. I've only done oil changes. I changed the transmission fluid once, and then I've rotated the tires, and as you can tell, I haven't had any issues, like none whatsoever. Something cool about the car is that on the LCD screen, the infotainment system, it actually tells you exactly what maintenance you need to do. So as soon as the maintenance light comes on, like it'll tell you change oil, rotate tires, change spark plugs, or like check fluids or something like that. It tells you like all the maintenance that you need to do. So you don't even have to actually need to look in the manual. But if you're anal like me, you want to check every little thing, then I guess you could just look in the manual. But some of the things about this car, I think, as you know, like normally the older, or the OG cars, the cars that are like a little bit older, they use the fuel inject system, so that's like the classic fuel rail setup where like you have the fuel pump in the back, which pushes fuel into the fuel rail, and the fuel rail goes to the injectors. Injectors sprays gasoline in the chamber, right? That's like the OG way. But the newer way, I guess in this car, it's called GDI, which is gas directed injection. So meaning that the injectors are actually built into the intake manifold itself. So when you start the car up, right, and you pop the hood and you hear that loud ticking noise, which is very common in the 10th generation Civics, and this Civic in particular, if you guys have been looking for this car, you hear like a tick, 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 tick. I'll try to take a video of that, but that's just because it's the injector that's working, and it's the way the setup is. It's totally normal. You would think it's kind of like a valve knock or engine knock or something like that, but it's actually not. It's totally normal in this car. But when you drive into the car, it's fairly quiet. It's not that loud at all. So we'll take it for a spin later on. But this car is really comfortable, very good for daily driving. The sound system is really good in the car. I think with the EXL setup, you get the 8-speaker sound system, and it's really crisp, really clean. The tweeters are really good. The highs are really, really clear, and the lows they pack a pretty decent punch. I guess one of the best features I like about this car is that I think it's just, it looks nice. I mean, it's refined. At first I thought it didn't look too good, but when I saw it in person, I like the hatchback style, and the trunk opens up. Like, it's not like a sedan where you just part of the trunk opens, the whole back opens up, and you can store a lot of things in the car. It has a lot of space. If you get like a portable bed or something, you can go camping and sleep in the back. You don't need to like get a tent. Saves a lot of money, And other than that, I mean, a couple of things. I guess the infotainment system, we'll go over that a little bit later on, but the infotainment system, it's the touchscreen. It does come with Apple CarPlay, but it runs on Android, so over time, like, it gets slower and slower, so you have to like restart it, and all you do is you hold down power button for like 5 seconds, and then you hit reboot. But that's the most annoying thing. But to me, I think the car's been great to me. Haven't had any issues. I love the way it looks. I love the way it drives. It's really comfortable. Pretty affordable. You can get them used for, I think, about like $15,000, $16,000 an hour with like 30,000, 40,000 miles on it. It's a pretty good deal. Yeah, so I mean, if you guys out there are looking for a 10th generation Civic, don't be discouraged the fact that it's turbocharged. It's pretty reliable, and on the forums, there's a lot of people that push up to like 250,000 miles with this car. So with that being said, let's take it for a spin, and then I'll give you guys some more review on I guess how the car drives, the suspension setup, running the McPherson in the back, or I'm sorry, the McPherson in the front, and then the I think it's a different kind of suspension setup in the back. Description. But yeah, let's take it for a spin, and then we'll take it on some local roads, and maybe like on some more open roads, so you can kind of feel for the steering wheel and everything like that. So let's tag along, and then we'll get going in the in-cabin review. Alright guys, so we're back in the 2010 Civic. A couple things I wanted to bring up that I forgot to bring up in the earlier session that I talked about in the garage. So this transmission is a CVT, and it's fairly smooth. I've changed the transmission fluid once, and you should probably go with the original Honda transmission, because the fluid that it uses is very unique. It's special to that transmission. So you could go like with Amsoil or with some like aftermarket ones, but I stuck with Honda. This car has about 160 feet-pounds of torque and about 174 horsepower, which is, has some go. It's pretty decent. Right off the bat, you can tell that the cabin is really quiet. It's really smooth. The transmission shifts great, and the throttle response is really good. I didn't feel any like lag or anything, being that it's a single scroll turbo. It still picked up fairly quickly, and the brakes are actually really smooth, really sensitive, and the car stops fairly quickly in the Civic. So you can tell there's heated seats. We'll talk about the infotainment system in a second. It's fairly laid out. It's really nice. It's about a 7-inch screen, and it's the buttons are all like integrated into the screen, so you gotta just touch it. There's no like click or any kind of like butterfly effect to it. So I mentioned earlier about like resetting the infotainment system. If it freezes, you gotta press the power button for about 5-6 seconds before it'll ask you if you want to reset it. I mean, it's looking around like the dash here. It's like a rubbed, like kind of like a hard material. It's not completely hard like plastic, but it does have some play to it. It has dual climate control. It has the engine start and stop button. I think the sport model doesn't have that. You got to start with a key, but with this one, it comes with the engine start and stop, so you can kind of start the car with a button. Also, you can program your remote to actually remote start your car. I think that's available in the EXL models. Even the EX models have that. So if you're like warming up for the day, or you're kind of in the house and it's cold outside, you can kind of warm up your car and set the heater going. So so by the time you get in the car and drive, everything stays warm. There's a couple of settings you can set in the car. There's econ setting, which is the little green leaf button right here on the side. That button is it restricts power to your car, so you get better gas mileage, but your car feels really weak. So I don't know if I really recommend that, because I tried that a couple times and getting on the freeway is really hard. Like, your car just doesn't pick up at all. So I just left it in regular, and it's been good for me. Fuse box is down in the lower left hand corner, so if you're gonna wire like a radar detector, or like you're gonna wire like a dash cam like I did, you can wire through there. Just make sure you get the right fuse taps. The seats are actually really comfortable. I mean, I think I made the right choice by going with the luxury model, because if you're gonna be daily driving and you're gonna be in traffic and stuff, like, you want to have something that's really comfortable to sit in, and having heated seats is nice, especially in the winter when it's really cold. It does get kind of cold here in Los Angeles too. But yeah, I mean, this car is really good for people that are like trying to get from point A to point B. It's really good for daily driving, and you take care of the car, and the car definitely take care of you. I pumped in 87 gas. You can get like, I know people recommend getting like something in the middle, but stick with the manufacturer and get the regular gas. It's probably best, and Honda knows best because they engineered the car that way. There's a couple things that I wanted to bring up. When you drive the car, when you drive it on the freeway, when you signal to the right, the screen will actually switch over to like the right dash cam, the right cam, so you can actually see, if there's any cars in your blind spot. But I recommend like checking once in a while, because like you never know if somebody's like behind you or somebody's in your blind spot. So don't rely on that 100%, because I've known people that have gotten into accidents just because they just relied on the right view camera to like check for traffic, and then they just hit somebody because they didn't see that in time. And also, like, the rims that come with the stock EXL model is super ugly, I think, in my opinion. And you guys can take a look at the picture right here. But I switched those out to the I got the Anke, or Anke, however you say it. It's the GT7s, and I got that off of Tire Rack. I think it's about like $800. That's including shipping and tax. So it looks a lot better with the black. I'll show you guys that in a second. But the stock rims on the EXL are kind of hideous. I know some people kind of grew into them, but I didn't at all. So that's a couple things, very minor. But yeah, do your maintenance. Like keep it up to speed. I think one of the beauty of buying a new car is that, like, you can keep track of maintenance from day one. And you know exactly what you did. I keep a log of everything. So even if I do decide to sell the car one day, I'll have everything written down, everything printed out, and you can just sell it, and with no problem. People will kind of take your word for it because you have proof of everything that you did. But the car drives great. The steering wheel feels really nice. It's like not overly big, and you can kind of adjust it. The brakes feel great, like I mentioned earlier, and the car does have some zip to it. We're gonna take the car, I guess, on some more smaller roads so we can get a feel for it. But I love driving this thing every day. I mean, I don't get old of it. It has enough ground clearance that if you go over speed bumps, or you go over like kind of like a high driveway, you clear with no problems. You won't scrape. The front part of the bumper has like a matte feel to it, so if you are driving and you scrape something on accident, it's not going to scrape your front bumper. It's going to scrape that matted area, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, don't be discouraged that it's a turbo car, because I haven't had any issues with it, and I've had it for about 2 years and about a couple of months. It drives really smooth. It's built fairly well. I think it feels a lot more solid than the older Civics. And I've had like the 1998 Civic, I've had the 2004 Civic, and now I have the 2018 Civic, which I'll probably keep for a while. yeah, we'll take a look around the interior of the car. The sound system sounds really good. It's an 8-speaker sound system, and it has the tweeters on the side of the door, which is really nice. And I think you guys will have a really good time just trying to like, you know, listen to your music. And it has Apple CarPlay, which integrates directly into your phone. You can watch like, you can listen to Spotify or like Pandora, listen to your podcast. You can listen to like a bunch of things and not worry about anything because everything's integrated into here. The dash is really nice. Like you can adjust a lot of things with this car. Like you can adjust how the dash is laid out, how fast or slow you want it. You know, like you know, you want you want it either in mph or you want it in kilometers. You can adjust that as well. You can, you know, like illuminate the lightings, dim the lighting. You can set it to like gas mileage. You can set it to like boost. You can set it to like what is it? Your music, like Pandora or Spotify. You can set it to that setting, or you can even set it to maintenance mode, where you see like maintenance that's due, or you can just leave it like I did. I set it on gas mileage, which is pretty convenient. But overall, I mean, quality is not too bad. It's an electronic parking e-brake, so you can have to just like pull it up and down and listen to like that noise, make sure it's locked. Something cool about this car is that the brake hold feature is that if you're on a hill and you're afraid the car is going to go backwards, you can just press the brake and make sure you press the brake hold button, and your car basically just stays in place. It won't move at all. But I noticed if your seatbelts aren't tucked in, if they're not connected, the brake hold feature won't work. I'll just make sure you get that going, and everything else should be okay. Overall, I think it's a great car. I got it in Night Hot Black. I think it's NH547. It's the color code for this car. It does get kind of dirty a little bit, but you just kind of keep it clean and keep it washed. I also tinted the moonroof so it protects the UV rays from coming in, and also tinted my windows. Overall, it's a great car. Whether you're like a middle-aged person or like a kid or a teenager trying to, you know, just get a car and get a feel for it, it's a good car. Civics are really one of Honda's most like famous, well-built lines, and I think you can't go wrong with the Civic, especially if you're looking for a compact hatchback. I think Honda does make really good use of its space, and this car does have a lot of space. When you fold the seats back in this car, you can get a lot of stuff. I fit 4 rooms in there, a bunch of like sports gears, a bunch of like you know, car parts, brake parts. Other than that, I mean, just keep an eye on the maintenance, and I think you guys can't go wrong with this car. I mean, I recommend it. It's been 2 years. I didn't want to do the review too early because what if I ran into some problems, and I wanted to tell you guys, you know, what kind of problems the car had. But no, nothing much. Just regular maintenance here and there, and then just like the bumper stuff, like the quality control. The bumper sticks out a tiny bit, but I was gonna fix that. But over time, you know, I bought the part, but I've been lazy. I might not just do it. Just let it live with it. Yeah, I mean, we'll check in later on, maybe about the 4 or 5 year mark, and see how the car goes. But for now, I mean, I recommend this car for you guys, and I think you can't go wrong with it. Everything works fine. The view in here is really good. Like you see a lot of the road. There's no blind spots. As you can see, I have the moonroof, the front sides, the back sides, even the hatchback. Yeah, everything is really clear. But yeah, even the jack and stuff, the jack and jack stands, it's all in the back left-hand corner. There's a little panel you open up. It comes with the wheel lock, the jack, and everything's kind of tucked away in a pouch really neatly. We'll take a look at that as well. But overall, I mean, the car is great, and any guys out there that have any questions, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Send me an email, ask me any questions. I'll try to shoot you guys an email or reply to your comment. But other than that, it's a great car, good gas mileage, very reliable for the last 2 years, so we'll see how long that can go, see if it has any issues. It does have a timing chain, so you don't need to worry about anything. Just drive it, take care of it, do maintenance. I switched out the air filter with a K&N filter, so it'll be a while before I need to clean that, so get rid of that paper filter. Other than that, it's been great. Let me know if you have any questions, alright guys? And see you soon in another video. Have a good one. Bye.